The Bring a Trailer podcast. You're just freaking on Facebook Marketplace, and this shows up. Freaking
That's like
Monza,
those things
Dekon clone.
Those things rip so fast at Monterey. Wings on them. Do you like those?
I think you had to be there. It's like a location joke. You had to be trackside and see them rip in the 70s. Otherwise, you don't care.
They're so fast and so loud when we're at the historics that they do something for me a little bit. I feel like there's always one that's like out in front of the pack too. They dominate.
That's the Budweiser one, I think.
The Dekon. How do you say it?
It's a combo of two guys' names.
It's Deakon, right?
No, I don't think there's an A.
Okay.
It's Dekon.
And
I always just say Dekon.
And sometimes the K is capitalized because it's two guys, right?
Right.
Yeah, okay. I thought we'd talk about Europe a little bit, if you're down for it.
Happy to.
Okay. You want to talk about your car at all?
Totally.
Or no? Okay,
totally.
great.
Adventures, man. I mean, you got to go do stuff. Let's go do stuff.
That's what I'd like to do. I'm thirsty, man. I'm thirsty to go do stuff. There's a lot of interesting stuff on the site. There's a lot of interesting results. Did you see the Cord that was converted into a two-door?
I saw the Cord on the side and I was going to ask you about it. It's got a Chevy in it though, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's rear-wheel drive in a Chevy, but it's also been cut down. It's two doors. They
shorter wheelbase?
Yes, they cut a chunk out of the middle. It's actually pretty well done, but it's also hurts my heart.
Hold on real quick. Just stumbling. I mean, Fairlane.
Look at that.
$13,000.
Where is it?
Facebook Marketplace, disastrous ad, machete death if you go look at the car. But man, it's appealing though, isn't it?
I've always
original
loved those
paint,
Fairlanes.
like ice metallic with a bench seat, automatic 289.
I believe it was on day one at BAT. I was editing a listing. Like Howard gave me like 3 pointers and I was off and running. And there was one of those Fairlanes with the beautiful swooping roofline. And it was a car I was aware of, but had never been that interested in. And it was like day one on the job. I'm like, oh, I'm interested in owning one of these.
What is that car?
Totally. This green color is really good on that, though.
Yes, it is. All right. We got stuff to talk about. I'm excited about today, man. Good to be with you.
It's good to be with you, too. You're frequently in Europe. Or is it frequently you're in Europe a fair amount?
2 times this year. This year's half over, dude. Did anybody remind you yet that this year's half over? Or nearing half over.
No,
I've
we're in
been
June,
to Europe
dude.
twice. So last year was crazy. We were doing so much BAT Europe
How many
expansion.
times were in Europe last year?
5. That's a lot.
Man.
That's a lot. One of them was
That's
my
a lot of
anniversary
sleeping on
trip.
airplanes.
Yeah, it's a lot of attempting to sleep on airplanes. But no, this was my second trip. We went to Retromobile. You got a Euro trip.
I did.
And that counts as this year, February. And then I hadn't been back until, end of May when we decided to do this driving adventure. So, anyway, I'm lucky for that. But there's BAT work to do. And this one was also just sort of a personal trip for me.
But you did do a little BAT stuff. You hung out with our guy Kenan, ImagestreetClassics. You went to his buddy with the bar. I actually saw it.
Did you look through the gallery?
I did.
Everybody listening should look at the photo gallery on that event because they threw like a Cars
What's the name of the
Coffee.
dude? The picture of you and him and Kenan with your shades on and you guys with your arms
Somebody
around
made a
each
joke
other?
that I was that dude with like the mega rock and roller hairdo. And I was like, oh, that's out. That's beyond.
We need to put a circle around Randy and be like, this one is Randy.
That's beyond what I could actually pull off. But anyway, what a cool idea. Cars and Coffee like at a farmhouse where the farmhouse doubles as a Pantera workshop.
Amazing.
Did you see that?
It's so sick.
So anyway, this is
south of Amsterdam?
Southeast, north. I don't know which direction it is, but it was sunshiny Amsterdam in the countryside. You're driving on a levee. Did you see the picture of the Galaxy on the levee? Do you see any of the driving pictures on the levee?
I did.
It was like elevated. So these cars would both show up and depart above your eye line and drive into this thing. Man, it was really, really neat. So anyway, he called it a Curated Cars and Coffee. And it was just kind of his buddies inviting a bunch of car friends.
How many cars roughly?
Pushing 50.
Okay, good turnout.
Yeah. And the guy didn't use the ride-on mower and mowed the farmyard. And then everybody pulled in with all these killer cars. And Kenan brought 5 or 6 cars that were marked coming soon to BAT. A couple of them are live right now.
We had some of them live.
They're kind of rolling live from now until Zandvoort when he has his next big event. But man, stuff in the Netherlands, it was fun. And the crowd is interesting. And Sledjo, I don't know if you saw Sledjo's comment on the story.
I did
He's
not.
like, I want to party with whoever drives a Firebird in the Netherlands. And I was like, that's so true. Because the dude that showed up in that, man, a root beer brown Firebird, I think it had like a white interior and it had those snorkel hood scoops on it. And he comes pulling in. I was like, driving that around over there is crazy. I was driving my Falcon over there and that's crazy, right? You get a lot of looks and people that are confused as to what you're trying to pull off. But yeah,
it's
there
a
were
lot of
really neat
American
cars.
pushrod V8s in this thing.
Well, this thing has
Is that
a
because
bias,
of the Pantera?
dude,
Yeah,
the
okay.
dude, like this is the guy to go to if you have a cool 60s or 70s V8 powered American car. So like he had a Mangusta in the garage.
Amazing.
And he actually had Ferraris that you would like. And he had just wacky stuff. A couple Espadas were in there.
Cool.
So anyway, cool cars to start, but then you layer this event on top of it.
Espada calling for a pushrod V8. That's like what it
Well,
needs.
dude, one of the first I ever featured on BAT had a Chevy in it.
I'm sure people did that a lot.
And I actually think that's acceptable.
I do too.
I know the broader
No,
universe
I'm with
is
you.
against that, but I'm like, man, if I could drive an Espada.
Remember our guy Rafi had that 250 GTE, the 2+2 250, which was kind of the least desirable body style with a 350 in it. Or maybe it was an LS, but it was something. It had crackled valve covers and it had the dual oil cleaner unit. So it looked like a Ferrari V12.
Yeah, you can stealth it, right?
Yeah.
Oh man, I think that's so cool.
I do too.
But a lot of people probably
Whether-
turn their noses up
No,
at that.
no. Well,
But I am very okay with it.
there's plenty of Ferraris with Colombo motors in them still. Weather looked like it cooperated.
We got full sun, like too much sun. Like I was hiding in the shade a little bit. And Image Street does a great hospitality job with, food and drink and welcome and comms and everything. Tunes were playing. I mean, the whole thing, it's just
Great.
really, it's really, really fun and just cool to get cars out like that. And for me, I mean, being from thousands of miles away, just to kind of show up and see how people do it, right? See what people
Yes.
talk about. Okay, here's the other craziest. So we're near Amsterdam. There were two bros that drove from the UK to the event.
What? Like put the car on the channel or ferry?
Chunneled.
Or, okay.
No, they chunneled and they drove. They drove a 06, 07 Rolls.
What?
Yes. And they hopped in right-hand drive, shows up with UK plates, and they're like, yeah, we left at 5 in the morning.
Oh, yeah,
And
because it's only one day to
they
really
rolled
do
in.
that,
This was kind of an afternoon
Yeah.
event, right? Like that's what else was different about this. Is it started at noon or started at 1, right? It wasn't a 7 a.m.
Oh,
start.
that's really
So it
interesting.
was an afternoon hang, which was great.
Did you like that? Because we're
But I
about to
had
do that.
pizza at
We're
the
about to
end.
do that in Wisconsin. Did you like the vibe of that?
Are we doing that timing?
Well, on Friday night, we'll have the, afternoon, evening downtown party, which I'm really excited for. I'm trying to not get too
Oh,
overhyped
that's
because I'm
6 to 8. That's
Yeah.
6 to 8. I was
Yeah,
just
yeah.
reading because I'm coordinating my travel for
Yeah.
Wisconsin in July. But anyway, I just thought it was a different take. Ken was totally cool about it. He's like, yeah, we don't have to wake up early. We'll cruise in the afternoon. I was like, wow, this is great.
That's like so novel for us.
I was like, how early are we cruising over there? And he's like, no, it's going to be in the afternoon. So anyway, it was super, super cool.
That's awesome, man. Super jealous of that. Was your pops at that one?
No, my dad was not at that. Oh, but I see why you're asking because I rendezvoused with him after. So
Right.
I went and did a Netherlands loop and then went to Germany.
This
to
was
meet
a
my dad.
little bit impromptu, right? Because you were going for a different car thing.
I was originally going over there and then we kind of tacked that thing on to the beginning.
Right, that's what I thought.
Scheduled it such that I could do both. But the reason for a May trip, which I've been looking forward to for 9 months because I procured a Porsche 356 in Germany and have navigated great, helpful people over there to help me both get it mechanically ready and plated and registered. And it's complex to try to pull it off. Had to call in a bunch of favors. But anyway, bought a little silver 356 coupe, which is a dream car of mine, as you know. And this just constructed basically a bucket list trip for my dad and I for his birthday. And we jumped in a Porsche in Munich and drove through the Alps with some friends of ours and then ended up in Italy for the Concorso at Lake Como, which was incredible. So that, yeah, it was like 6 days and sun and then pouring rain and snow in Switzerland and then sun again and then home and then like euphoria.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was killer. It was,
I mean,
it was
I've
absolutely
deliberately not asked you about this because there's so many questions. First off, how was the car?
The
It's the
car-
first time you've seen it in person?
No, I'd seen it in person. I'd
Okay.
never driven it. It was a driver. It
I know.
went over. I bought it through references and people who vouched for it, and it was sold by a reputable dealer in Bavaria. But then I went over to see it to do kind of the transfer once I had already committed. And it was snowing that day because that was in October, November last year. And so I was like, I'd love to rip it around the block or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're like opposed, right? Like I'm just kind of, I'll go do silly things.
Same, yeah.
But they were very much like, no, you're not driving it today. And I was like, oh, bummer. So anyway, I had not driven it, but then we sent it to a friend and then sent it to a great shop in Munich that's taking care of it mechanically. And I was just told him what I was going to do. Like, I want to go drive this thing for 6 days. I'd love to show up. I'd love to not be on the side of the road.
Did you have that idea in November when you first saw it?
That was like one of the points of
Right,
getting
that's
the
what
car.
I thought.
I mean,
Okay.
the point of getting the car was I love silver 356A coupes. But
Yeah, you've only been talking about that the entire time I've known you.
Totally, right? I mean, I sold the one in 2010 to start BAT full time and have always wanted it, like the photos up behind your desk in the office, right? So I've always wanted that car and I've always been waiting, like, when's the time I'm actually going to pull the trigger? And so I finally just randomly last fall found a pretty good one and started hanging with these guys in Europe that are always like, let's go driving. And I'm like, okay, it'd be cool to have it over there. So made that happen. And then the dad birthday timing and the Concorso timing and the car being ready timing, it all kind of aligned. So I scheduled out a way to do a trip with some German friends of ours and go drive.
Great.
1,000 miles, 1,615. I took a picture of the odometer, 1,615 kilometers done, which is just coincidentally a few clicks over 1,000 miles.
Amazing.
They do passes there. That's the way the vernacular over there is. They had these crazy mountain
Switchbacks,
passes, right? Or with immense numbers of switchbacks. We did 6 meaningful passes and we did 5 countries. And wildly enough, the 5 countries we clicked through on the whole trip. And then the last day, we did 5 countries on the last day to get back to Munich,
crap.
which I wouldn't have thought of. We started in Italy at Como, and then you go through Switzerland and you go through Austria. And if you take a little turn, you go through Liechtenstein.
Yeah.
And then you take another curve into Germany, and that's 5.
Wow. That's
So,
amazing.
Anyhow, we were ripping in that little car, and man, it didn't miss a beat. It started every single time.
It's a 912
It's a
motor.
912
it's like
motor.
2 liter or 1900 or something like that.
No, not quite that big. I think it's a 1750,
Okay.
maybe a little more, but adequate power in a little hot rodded 912.
How high did you get?
2,500 meters.
Oh, that's like 8,000 feet. Or,
Yeah. Some reasonable. It's not like Colorado height,
Yeah.
but they don't have peaks or roads that go quite that high. But I think we were at least 2,500. I don't think we hit 3,000 meters. But incredible roads. We went over the Grossglockner, which is the great pass that's affiliated with, the old Porsche families right at the base of that.
What's the
in
one where the
Austria.
hotel is in the middle of
So the hotel was there. We didn't do that one. That's in Switzerland.
Okay.
I did that with my dad, and one of the inspirations for that, I've driven a little bit in that area, but that was in like a Volvo rental car,
Totally.
right? Like random, modern, automatic, like who cares? On some family trip 10 years ago, and we were like, man, doing this in an old car is just like the best idea. So it's always been pointing towards this, and we finally did it, but that's not the one with the hotel. That's on the Cover Road and Track like a couple years ago. And then the Goldfinger one is another one adjacent to that. That's the Furka Pass, I think. We didn't do that, but we did some other just crazy, and they have crazy names. But
is it like first gear on some of the things because they're so tight?
Yes, I can show you some vid. In that car in particular, it's first gear, right? Because that car you're whining out because it's slow
and up at altitude, you don't have much power. Yeah.
And we were driving with a Mercedes with a big engine in it, right? And I'm in this little Volkswagen engine Porsche, and you're trying to like rip it and keep
like
up with people.
A Gullwing?
Yeah, we were driving with friends that have a Gullwing, which is impressive to see on the roads over
bet.
there. And we were laughing because whenever we were driving with the Gullwing, nobody looked at the Porsche. Nobody
of course.
at all. Zero. Like, no joke. They'd turn their head and like not even see us one bit. And then we drove the last couple of days without the Gullwing, and everybody's like high-fiving us. We're like celebs all of a sudden when you're like out of the shadow.
Yeah.
So anyway,
when you're not driving the toy next to the
totally,
Gullwing.
it's like the totally child car next to the Gullwing. But anyway, I thought it was a cool car, so we had a lot of fun doing that. But no, the passes. I mean, even in a modern rental car, I can't recommend it enough. It's so cool, the stuff you get to see and the way they utilize the land there and the tunneling that they do and the quality of the roads, and the curves are numbered all the way up. This one had 58 curves. Jeez. And they only count the curve if it's 180 degrees. They don't count like a sharp left. They count like a hairpin.
Yeah.
So there were 58 hairpins to get to the top. And it's semi-terrifying, a lot
Is
of
it single lane or what's the traffic like up there? Are these thoroughfares? Are
you're
there
passing, you're going back and forth, and a random truck will come down, and then some like out-of-towner in a Winnebago will try to do it. And then they send buses up these, which are doing like 3-point turns to get around and stuff, which is terrifying. And there's really weird names for all the passes and that you wouldn't have necessarily heard of, but you've heard of the towns, right? I mean, you go through St. Moritz, Switzerland, and there's cool pass on either end to get in and to get out. And then there's the Grossglockner, which is a big mountain. And then going into Cortina, they were preparing for the Olympics. So the whole place was under construction and crazy, but you're in the Dolomites and there's cycling teams practicing and there's snow falling and it's just crazy stuff. We saw a group of Lancia Aurelias, like a bunch of Aurelias in the rain driving. That was awesome.
Completely unrelated, just like
just going the other way. They were out there driving midweek, and we saw a lot of modern sports cars. People are stoked on driving good roads. And then we saw some British guys driving in the rain, looked like they were miserable on British plates, like they'd come a long way to get away from the rain, and they found more. And I only saw one other 356, but we were super lucky to have some great roads and some friends, and obviously, stuff like the food and the visuals wherever you're going, and people are shaking their heads at your car and wondering what you're up to and want to talk about it. A lot of pictures taken.
I was going to ask, does their old car love there?
There is, from tourists, from locals in Italy, all through Italy, everybody loves cars, totally loves it. There's some other countries where, people may turn their nose up at you a little bit with old cars, but there's always somebody, that is pumped that you're there, and you get good parking spaces at the hotel and the whole thing.
That's great.
So, it was terrific. And I wanted to keep a car over there to do this sort of thing. And it just makes me want to do it more because you realize, we were in the rain on that one. So I need to go back and do that in the sun. And then you're like, and then people will tell you, well, you did this pass. That's really great. But do you know about this other road? Right. So there's like hundreds of other opportunities. Sure. So you're never really done. But certainly a substantial portion of it's checked off for my dad and I going and doing that together, which was kind of the intent. And I've got the pictures and I want to make 50 of the photos into like posters for the wall just because they're all so amazing. So it was very fulfilling.
Did you have most of the routing pre-planned or were you making it up as you went along?
Thankfully, we were with locals over there that drive.
Okay, so you were in a group most of the time.
2 cars. I mean,
2 cars.
4 people, 2 cars. And so about 2/3 of it was that. And then they cut us loose. And we kind of chuckled because we're like, I guess we got to think now. Right?
Totally.
We got to where are we going? Are we taking this route or that route? And so we had to kind of take off the training wheels and think for ourselves. But
there's fun in that. And also, you and your dad are practiced hands.
Totally. He's my navigator, right, for many, many events. And he's looking at the maps and whatever. But, all the signage to all the towns and everywhere you're going, they make it pretty clear. And some passes were still closed. We were a little early in the season, hence the rain.
Closed for snow.
Still closed because it snowed in. But 80% of the passes were open, but some of them were not.
Wow.
Yeah, man. Stelvio was closed. Still,
interesting.
Which was one turn that we could have taken maybe, and we didn't need it.
Switzerland?
That's in Switzerland.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but we didn't need it. There was another one adjacent to it, and we went the other way. It's just so cool. I mean, driving events, my dad and I were chuckling about wow, this is pretty different than a lot of the U.S. events that we do, but just getting out there and getting to use that car and trusting that you're walking out to it in the morning and hoping it gets you to your next spot. It's your only option. You don't have a backup plan. That sort of stuff I love with old cars because the trust relationship and the finesse to get it to actually keep running.
Brand new for you too. How are the Speedster seats? Is that the most mileage you've ever done in seats
absolutely.
Like that?
I was grumbling a little bit about comfort on Speedster seats.
There are cloth inserts on those, right?
Mine has, corduroy-ish tan center sections.
They look fantastic in photos.
They do always look fantastic. They were a little uncomfortable, but in general, I mean, whatever, we've driven worse, but it was pretty sporty position. But you're doing work with the steering wheel and the shifter in those cars and everything else, so don't worry about it that much. We ran the windshield wipers for 2 days straight, which I was like, man, these windshield wipers are 70 years old.
Yeah.
You're telling me this is actually going to work? I kept
and they don't go
them.
They don't go super fast.
One speed, right?
Yes.
And it's on or it's off. And I was like, man, do I need to conserve this motor? Are we going to burn the motor up on day 2? Because I'm going to need it on day 2, so I won't use it on day 1. Sort of logic in your head. And I was like, oh man. But they just soldiered on and kept clearing
on my Gia. It was my daily driver for many years, and so in bad rain, I would do the same thing. And I remember it's all coming back. my hand would be sitting on the little knob, and I'd be my own
Turn it off.
intermittent wiper.
Totally, because you don't want to use it like you're going to run out of quarters, right?
Totally.
You're like, I can't have that much life in it, right? So you're like, you ration
Yes.
the electric
Yes.
wipers. I found myself doing that for the 2 days that we had rain.
I still get triggered when I drive around and it's only light rain and I see somebody just running their wiper at high speed unnecessarily. You see racers do that. They just leave the wiper on regardless. And I'm like, it stresses me out.
Totally. It's not going to work. When you need it, it's not going to be there.
When you drive old cars.
Yeah. But no, we got serious downpour a couple of the days, which was a little unfortunate, but it was still fun. And then thankfully, it's nice when the sky opens up towards the end. We didn't just finish the trip with 4 days of rain. You get to Italy and it's like sunny.
Oh, dude,
It's
talk
like
to me about
California.
Como. Talk to me
It's like
about
California.
Como.
Yeah, full on wood boats.
Did you do a full
And
circuit? It's big. It's a big lake,
It's
isn't it?
big. It's like a triangle. Well, there's like 3 legs to it.
It gets narrow. You
like
can,
a Star Wars ship sort of shape. And to circumvent it, you got to drive a ton of miles. But we came in from the north in Switzerland in this cool pass where it was freezing. We woke up, no joke, snow at our hotel window in the morning.
Like on top of the car?
And, well, no. The cars were underground.
Okay.
But the road and the railing outside the window and stuff had a dusting on it, which is hilarious. And then you jump in the car and
356s and Beetles are great in the snow. That's the whole point.
They actually love it, but it wasn't really collecting on the road that much. And then lunchtime, Como, 3.5 hours later, 78 degrees.
Amazing.
Like hiding in the shade to not be in too much sun. So anyway, there's a lot of variety, but yeah, Lake Como, my first time there, obviously famous and whatever. Everybody talks about George Clooney. And we read the history. You'd appreciate this. You're a history guy. We read like the history of the region and Lake Como while we were sitting at lunch talking about the Austrians coming in.
Sure.
And Mussolini escaped via Como and tried to go over the pass that we drove and was killed before he got there.
The Romans were there too. I mean, it's
the
long
Romans were
history.
there. But my favorite was still that like Mussolini tried to do the pass that we did to get to St. Moritz, to get to Switzerland, and he didn't make it. Anyway, so reading the historical accounts were super interesting, but we skirted down the western side, which was a long run, a couple hour run down that
It's basically villas the whole way around, right?
There's hotels, there's villages, there's some big villas. It's known for some big villas, 6 or 8 really big villas.
Yeah.
And then nice stuff all over the place. There's car ferries that crisscross it. You can get into that sort of stuff
that's interesting.
if you want, because it takes a long time. If you're going to like try to go to what you see across the lake, it would take you hours to get there.
How big are the car ferries? Just like a couple cars at a time?
6, 6
amazing.
cars on them.
You didn't do one of those?
We did it. We drove past it on the way out and was like, oh, that'd be novel, but we weren't going that direction. But boat taxis, wooden, classy looking boat taxis, kind of like in Venice, cruising around all over the place. We'll pick you up at a bunch of different places and take you places. We rode on one of those. Cool boat traffic all the time, and like fishermen and like normal sort of authentic people living life. And then a lot of resorters, a lot of motorcycles, a lot of old Fiat 500s.
Oh, that's
just
cool.
Buzzing around.
A lot of traffic on the road around
and then, around the event where we were, it was like a circus of traffic. But like in general, we were there on a sunny weekend. So there's tourist traffic and people around. A lot of cyclists, right? Like Italian cycling. I think it's popular to circumnavigate the lake on your bike. So there were a ton of cyclists.
Like in big packs, like pelotons?
Some of them in a couple pelotons, but more just like 4 or 5 folks doing their thing. But I love that. That has an Italian feel to me, right? Like you go to a cafe and there's people with their bicycles and they're like having espresso.
Campagnolo, it's the crossover of bikes and cars. Yeah.
All of it, and all the Italian brand bikes. So that was really fun. And then
Auto Bianchi. This is the event that is like the Pebble Beach, right? Is this that?
People equate it to Pebble as being like the Pebble Beach of Europe, or they're vying for the lead of the biggest or whatever, most prestigious. It's not the biggest. It's not as many cars as Pebble, but anyway, it's called Concorso d'Eleganza.
Okay.
Which is basically the same thing. It's just in Italian.
Like Como Concorso d'Eleganza.
Yeah. It's at a villa called Villa d'Este, and it's sponsored by BMW, interestingly enough. So there's BMWs
call it that
everywhere.
Like they just call it Villa d'Este, right? Isn't that
correct?
Yeah, okay.
You can call it by the location. And I saw some write-ups this week talking about it as like car week, like Villa d'Este car week. So everybody loves the whole car week.
I heard that we heard that in Arizona.
Turn your
like,
event,
this is car week. I'm like, which one?
Totally. Turn your event into a car week, right? Indianapolis 500 car week. It's kind of like, okay, I'll give you that. I mean, I would love to stay there for a week. But the event is 2 days, Saturday and a Sunday. And I went to the Saturday with my dad, and They had 56 cars, I think they said.
Oh, it's not very many.
It's not huge, but it's pretty premier. The
Right.
stuff that's there is really good, but the classes that means are really small, right? It's
Right.
like these 4 cars are being judged, and they're all pinnacle cars.
Everybody wins if you get third place.
Well, everybody wins, even if you're like there at all, right?
Right.
They had a modern class, and it's like an F50 against a McLaren F1 against a Mercedes CLK GTR. It's like,
That's
how do
weird.
you judge that? Like, I have no idea how to even.
That's also different than Pebble because they would never let those cars into Pebble.
No, and I think they're trying to be a little more creative with this one. But this one is long-standing, similar to Pebble, right? I mean, I think they've been hosting a car show on these grounds for years and years and years and years.
And everyone's in fancy dress. It's similar,
Euro, and everybody is kind of outdoing each other in their fancy
very
outfits.
tight slacks.
There's short and tight.
No
slacks.
socks.
Very few socks. Many hats, more hats than socks.
Yeah.
And there are, but good-looking people. I mean,
Oh, I'm
good-looking
sure.
cars, good-looking people, good-looking venue. Like, yes, it was
Yeah.
great. Good food.
Standouts for you? I'm for sure there's like pre-war coach built stuff,
Oh my
right?
gosh, just so much cool one-off stuff that just to see it pull out there is really neat. The pre-war stuff, honestly, was like kind of the coolest in some ways. There were 50s racing Ferraris, which were very cool. I mentioned that modern stuff, which was great. And then I have a wandering eye towards like the dock adjacent,
Oh, interesting.
which had 4 Rivas, right? 3 big Rivas, Aquaramas, or Super.
This is part of the show, or this is like what
No,
people
these
came at?
cruising around. This is casual.
Yeah.
It's like a flex move,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like, just like, what car are you showing? Oh, I don't care because my
Yeah.
Riva's out there. And then they had a Super Florida, which is the baby Riva. We just sold one of those on BT for 140 or something like that. There's one of those there, which I actually really liked. We sold a big one of those on BT.
What's that
too.
called? I've
So,
never heard of that before.
Florida. It's the little baby single bench seat instead of double and single engine. We sold one of those recently. You should look it up.
Oh, it's only a 20-footer. Oh, this is
it's shorty.
gorgeous.
It's shorty, but it's got some of the charm.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm
man,
glad you're
that's
looking
beautiful
at that.
It's got that same
It's got
wraparound
some of the
windshield.
vibes, but it's like the junior model.
I love it when they've got the car steering wheels, and sometimes they even have gas pedals. Like, I love all that stuff. Sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead.
I love that one. It's 1/6 the price of the
Yeah.
big ones,
Yes.
right? But it has a lot of the same flavor.
Holman and Moody, Cleveland in this one.
That one's
Hell
got
yes.
a Cleveland, which is
Yeah.
neat. Those are beautiful. And so I had a wandering eye towards that.
There's definitely a wooden boat show on Lake Como somewhere.
There
too.
must be, which I would be game to attend. So the boat scene was strong and the car scene. So they had Rolls-Royce was there because they're obviously affiliated with BMW, and they brought the Goldfinger yellow and black Rolls. Are you familiar?
No, oh,
That
of course, the
Odd
one
job drive.
Yeah, the one that had the brass parts were melt them down. So he was smuggling gold. He would melt
You
them
got
down.
it.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
the
yeah.
license plate was AU1.
Auric,
right?
Auric Goldfinger.
Totally.
Gert
So
Frobe,
it's
who didn't
that-
speak English. Yeah, okay,
allegedly
great.
that car. I mean, I don't know if they're playing games and it's some other car, but it's said to be the car.
Wow.
That car. So anyway, I thought
Owned
that
by
was
Rolls Royce, or did they?
displayed by them. I
Yeah, okay.
doubt they own it though. And they did a modern one to look like it, which was whatever, hit or miss. But the old one, I was like, wow, Goldfinger car. Because we had just driven some of the passes
Amazing.
like in that region too. And I was like, think if you saw that car going up there, I mean, that's like,
Do you know
such
which
a
pass that
flashback.
is with the Stang and the sniper and all that
So
stuff?
there's one called the FURKA, FURKA pass. And then there's one other one, and they're the Goldfinger ones.
Yeah. The Mustang Vert debut, I think, or it was
Yeah,
like,
the gal with the rifle in the white
Mhm.
65 Mustang Vert, but the movie was in 64, so they got a really early one in
Yep.
Europe, which was hard to do.
with hubcaps, as I remember on that.
It had
I think.
hubcaps, and then he had his spinner wheels
Yeah,
that
oh, yeah.
shredded the car,
Yeah,
and
and
she got all upset.
He's like, oh, it must have been a blowout.
Yeah, that's totally. So anyway, that was really fun. But no, then there was a Bentley Speed 6 black.
Ooh, I like
Street spec. Most of them are green and like race spec. This one
Mhm.
was street spec black with a canvas fixed top that had run the Monte Carlo rally
Fixed
in the
canvas?
20s or 30s. This car was the deal. This
Wow.
car was probably my favorite car there, and there were great cars.
I
there.
love them when they have a hard top, but I don't know if I've ever seen a fixed canvas.
I'm not like a Bentley guy.
No, me
like,
neither.
Drawn to that. I had fun seeing the race cars at Le Mans.
The history
and
is cool.
other stuff.
Bentley boys and Wolf Bernardo. and
all that stuff is
Yeah.
cool. But to see this car, the scale was impressive. and
Oh,
the
look
car
at
just
that.
looked very, very cool with big, huge black wheels
Man.
with block lead
That's
tires or whatever they are.
What did you say it ran? It couldn't have been Le Mans because it doesn't
Monte
have a back
Carlo.
seat.
It had a
ran
big,
Monte
a thing
Carlo.
in a Monte Carlo rally back in the day, which I didn't know how early they ran that event. potentially
Man.
back to the 20s or 30s. Love that car. People
Right.
like Duesenbergs and stuff. And I'm like, keep it. Like, I would take this.
Well, there's like little short Duesenbergs too, right? When you want the sporty version, like a lot of Bentleys are big,
But other cars in that class, they had an SSK there, which was
sick.
super gorgeous in like a burnt dark red, which was really cool. There's an Aston Martin Ulster pre-war car that was in that class. That was green, that from a German friend. That was a beautiful car. And then, anyway, I'm not like a big pre-war dude, but that class was like, you stand there and they're splayed out in a circle. And so you stand there and like look around and you're like, man.
But that's also like that's the history of auto. Those cars are they lead to a lot of the cars that you and I love that are post-war cars.
Mm-hmm. The winner of the overall event was in that group, which was an Alfa Romeo with Ferrari-esque badges painted on it from motorsport back in the day.
He was the team manager, right?
Totally. So that won things overall. And then there was a
6C or an 8C. What was it?
Whatever's the biggest, baddest, coolest.
Open car.
Open car. Very early looking car. And then there was a flowy fender Alfa Romeo that belonged to Ralph Lauren that was there. And his son drove it across. His son was there, who looks exactly like him like 30 years ago. That was
interesting.
Like a crazy moment, kind of cool, stylish moment. Beautiful car with numbers on it that ran the Mille Miglia there and then shipped to the US and hadn't been back since or something. There was some it hadn't been there in 80 years sort of narrative. And now it was back at Villa d'Este. So anyway, meaningful cars. And then, the beautiful Gullwing was there in a cool color. Mercedes 300S, big coupe. I love those.
That's the one with the Gullwing motor, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Some of those have a supercharger on them?
Einspritz motor. No, they just have injection.
Injection.
I don't know if they have blowers on them. Maybe they do. Weird Monteverde sports car was there.
Oh, is that the I don't want to insult people, like the Jensen looking thing?
Yeah, I mean, you could say it looks like a lot of different things.
But it's kind of like a block. I actually really like those a lot.
It has sort of a Mangusta vibe to it.
It's totally Di Tommaso-esque. How much time did you guys end up spending there? Is that like a whole day?
So that was
deal?
a long day. Yeah, a whole day.
And you were staying close, or you had to do miles?
We were staying 3 miles away.
Oh, you were close. Okay.
And we didn't try to park there during the day, so we left our car at the hotel and took a little taxi down there.
You took water taxi or no?
No, not. We could have maybe orchestrated that, but I was not a smart enough planner to pull that off. So we just
do they have
traveled by land.
Uber for the water taxis?
They might. I didn't figure it out. We weren't there long enough to figure all that out. But
what? Save that for another trip.
Totally. Some Bizzarinis and some special bodied stuff. Anyway, very cool car. The cars are like worthy of showing up.
And this is your first time to this event, correct?
Absolutely, my first time.
What's your pops
to that
say?
lake. First time to that event.
Oh, really? I'm surprised by that.
I had never been to that. Been to Lago de Garda, Lake Garda, which is 2 lakes over. There's 3 lakes, right? And that's 2 lakes to the east. And that's maybe easier to get to from Germany. So we spend time in Germany and I've been there a fair amount. But no, this is first time. And what did my pops think? My pops was super stoked. I mean, it was sort of a decadent trip and we're very lucky to get to do it. And the car performed. I didn't leave him on the side of the road in the rain with like problems to solve. Like
it was
crucial. Everything was somewhat taken care of. It all kind of worked, which was a good amount of luck. You
always want to do it again after that. And then when the car doesn't work, you're like, never again.
Yeah, terrible trip. The place was, Como's terrible, right? All of it's terrible. No, all the logistics worked and all the advanced planning worked and our friends helped so much. So anyway, he was stoked. He celebrated his birthday in Bergamo at this cool restaurant, like after we had been driving all day. That sort of stuff is really hard to replicate. Yep. And he's 78 and had a good birthday, I think.
Amazing, man. And the car is where now?
So the last day, that 5-country day, we drove all the way back on the Autobahn, which is not that fun in a 4-speed 356. But interesting, I'll tell you about that experience. So we drove
you can go
all the way
top
back
speed,
to
but it
Munich.
only goes about 110 or something.
Again, you got to get home, right? So, you could burn the thing out and go as fast as you possibly can, but then it may explode or whatever. Then you got to walk.
Yeah, those push rods are moving fast.
Too fast. Floating things inside the engine. So we do another pass to get out of Italy. Crazy pass, the one with all the turns. And then we fall down into the mountains of Switzerland and then it flattens out. And then you start driving through Switzerland and you're just like, I just got to get to Munich like before the sun goes down. How do we do it? And it turns out it's Autobahn. And so you're right laning it in the Autobahn and it's got an okay rear view mirror, but people are coming up on it, right? I love driving on the Autobahn, but I don't always want to be the fastest. I want to like watch the fast guys
Yeah.
go, because when you're in the middle of the right lane, like them coming up with their lights flashing and left blinker on and
Is
stuff.
this just 2-lane
and
Autobahn?
closing. Typically it's
Yeah,
2-lane.
okay.
And for parts of Switzerland, it was 3 and there was a speed limit. But Germany, it was 2-lane and it was like
Unlimited.
it was somewhat remote.
Yeah.
So you just see the lights way back there and you're like, okay, like brace yourself, here it comes. So it's like you're standing next to a train track and the train
But
goes
is it
by.
just like diesel Mercedes and stuff that are fine?
Yeah. It's like an Audi S6
Yeah,
or whatever, right? Or it doesn't have to be like a Lambo or whatever else, but they come
But
up.
that car's comfortable at 150 miles an hour.
At least, right? And they just come ripping past. It's so fun. And it kind of gives you like a shudder as it goes by. And we're in this old like car. I've got the pedal to the metal and we're doing like 90 miles an hour, And
also, Volkswagens are susceptible to sideways.
Yes. But then we got to execute a pass every once in a while.
Oh, sure.
And you got to look and make sure you're not going to get killed when you like try to make the passes and stuff. So anyway, getting out in the fast lane in that car is a little bit vulnerable feeling, let's say. But, as long as you plan ahead and like your gear shifts and whatever else, we've managed to stay out of trouble. But yeah, the Autobahn is more fun in a modern fast car. No doubt about that. But we managed to make it through our kilometers that we needed to for the day and made it back to Munich, stashed the car in Munich and took a Uber out to the airport hotel and left the next day and came back home.
Amazing. What a trip. What's next? When are you going to go drive it again?
Well, it's sitting there now and I'm sitting here, which is kind of the dumb part of the arrangement, right? So now, I got to figure out how to have it have some utility. But people ask, like, are you going to sell it or are you going to ship it to California and drive it around? Or are you going to try to do this again or what? And I mean, that was such a cool trip and has kind of got the juices flowing for maybe do 1 or 2 more of those before bringing it back to the US. But it's a keeper type of car. It's a good enough car to like keep.
Okay, good. Would doing something like that in the Falcon be fun at all, or would that be a nightmare?
So the guy I bought the Falcon from did an event in the Alps called the 12 Passes in 12 Days, 12 in
Holy
12
crap.
event, and had pictures of it. And I bought the car not based on those pictures, but they were part of the story of the 64 Falcon, which is in the Netherlands, which is flat as a pancake, right? There's no passes there. I think it would be fun. Some of the tight stuff, having a V8 or whatever can just be a liability. It's not as sporty, but there's a ton of wide open sweepers and fun, smooth roads and stuff. And that would be really fun.
You could keep up with the Gullwing too.
You could maybe, I don't know if you could put the power down.
Maybe not at high speed.
Yeah,
actually.
Not at high speed. The arrow of the grill on the Falcon's a little different. But no, we had that dinner discussion topic often of what if you were in the Falcon, right? How would that work? And it would certainly be fun, and people would think it was crazy too, So just
were there other cars you were fantasizing about? Like, what's halfway in between those two cars that's got a little more legs and a little more power, but is still like relatively?
Would
like
so
an
many
Alpha
people,
would be fun.
An Alpha would be fun, right? And a different vibe of a front engine. Toss in a front engine. My buddy in the Netherlands obviously has a bunch of Alphas, and like doing those roads in a step nose Alpha that's prepared nicely would be a ton of fun. And obviously, a lot of people do 911s.
I was going to say,
having
911 would be
more power.
An early 911 would be really fun with soft suspension,
67S in stock form, and all those
skinny
things.
tires.
Yeah, it would be a ton of fun. You got to have things where the windshield wipers work, man.
Yeah.
That's what you need to have, and a little bit of ground clearance. There weren't like bad roads for ground clearance, but you didn't want like race suspension on this stuff. We pulled into some cities. Did some cobblestones, stuff like that.
A little bit of sidewall, a little bit of lean is nice.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, German cars, Italian cars would be great. R5 Turb would be pretty fun.
Oh, that would be really interesting.
On a lot of stuff. That would be a fun car for a lot of the tight, twisty
small,
stuff.
short wheelbase.
But would it get you home? I don't know.
That's one of the questions.
I don't know if it would get you home.
You said you liked that part of the adventure.
Yeah, I do when it doesn't break, right? Some of your stuff, old American stuff. Your Porsche would be great in it. But
I always do that with my dad.
NSX would be great.
NSX would be fun.
So at that event, I saw the white NSX R that I guess sold for $1 gazillion. Yeah. Anyway, I stood next to that car and saw it. People were talking about that after I got back. I was so abuzz with like the driving. I didn't really look at the auction cars over there.
Of course, there's always an auction associated with these things, right?
Yeah. Associated, but terrific show. Twist your arm, like fly over there and go to Italy and go to an awesome car show. If you can pull it off in any way, shape, or form, I highly recommend it.
It's so choice.
It was so choice. The whole thing was so choice.
Oh, man.
Anyway, super, super fun. I'd love to do that with you, though.
Oh, gosh.
Well, the other thing that I was thinking the whole time is, who could I get over here? Like who else would be a maniac enough to do this sort of stuff and be cold? And the Porsche, I don't know if you you know those cars, but the heating
Oh, you've got the one little vent down by your feet.
Totally. The heater and the defrost.
Yeah.
We had a day of like defrost terribleness.
That is one of the problems.
Which is a super pain, right? Like cracking the windows, but you're getting soaked and it's cold.
No.
My dad had one of those like Antarctica jackets on at one point. At one point, he went to like put the hood up in the car. And I was like, don't do that. That's just depressing.
I've driven out of a little corner that's defrosting.
Totally.
You know?
And you're like wiping the glass. So anyway, that was a little bit of manual labor, but whatever. You got to earn it.
Can you do it in the height of the summer, or is it too hot and crowded?
You could totally do it. The mountains stay cool. Como gets hot.
Yeah.
But the mountains stay cool. We were too early, right? I mean, it was wetter than it should have been. And honestly, it was like hard to find a lunch restaurant stop. You'd pull over and they'd all say choose. So they were all like closed up.
Oh, because they only open for the season.
Yeah, they're open either for the winter for the ski season or the summer for the tourist season. And May is like the absolute wrong time.
Totally.
They all said June 1. And we were there like 10 days too early.
That's fascinating. I wouldn't have even thought about that because it's pretty remote, a lot of it, right?
Well, they're little towns. You're going through little villages, right? And whether you're in Austria or Switzerland or Italy, and you want like a cool little guest house place with a kitchen in it to stop and get your coffee or your lunch or whatever. And most of them were like, we're not even here. They were just like shut.
Fascinating.
So that I would alter a little bit. But yeah, learnings. There's learnings.
It would be fun to have a little group, man. I
don't know how you get a bunch of people over there to do it.
Yeah.
No, but yeah.
You got my brain turning. Mm-hmm. Anyways, dude, I appreciate you sharing all that. Anything else we should chat about before we part? We've got another BAT event in Europe coming up, a little bit more official. Neither you and I are going to be there, bummer, but we will have
other
staffers
there who are lucky.
Correct. They are very lucky. Shout out Hud and Carter. That'll be with our buddy Kenan again, ImagestreetClassics. That's at Zandvoort, which you've gone to before.
Mm-hmm. No, I was commenting on the announcement on the site today. That's a terrific event. That's late June, weekend of vintage racing and killer trackside events at Zandvoort in the Netherlands.
And then Wisconsin, man, I'm counting the days. We're all going to be there.
Well, that's going to be crazy.
Yeah.
How many BAT people are going to be there?
18. And it's everyone who's ever, pretty much everybody who's ever been on the podcast
and
is going to be there.
And it's a multi-day.
Yeah.
It's
me, Howard, Zach. Baxter's going to be there. Danielle's
it's a Friday night and Saturday.
Yep.
And then we just heard there's more on Saturday night.
So Friday night, BAT is officially sponsoring the like hangout in downtown Elkhart Lake, which has race cars on Friday night. So they all drive from the track. Howard allegedly can be in slot number 1 in his GT3 Cup car driving down the road. I think it's 5 miles or so from the track to downtown. The original track went through the downtown like a lot of those track, like Pebble Beach did, where it was in the trees. And then they were like, this is too sketchy. And so in like 55, they built a circuit just like they did with Laguna, is what I understand to be the case. And then Saturday night, it's like a street concourse, street cars, you know, Wisconsin, warm, Midwestern. Egan might be there, right? Like, cool. Yeah, it's a lot of cool things. Comer's excited. So I'm really looking forward to it. I love the Midwest, especially in those warm summer evenings. So exciting.
Yeah, I just mapped it. I'm driving up from Chicago, which is going to be 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Killer.
And cruising into Elkhart Lake, where I've never been before.
No, me neither. We're staying in Sheboygan, which should be interesting. Chris and I are driving in from Minnesota, so that'll be interesting.
What are you doing?
We're doing a podcast with, this is a little bit of a teaser, with Chris Runge, the guy who builds those like hand-hammered 356s.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That guy.
We're going to his shop. We're going to do it there at his place.
He's Minnesota?
He's Minnesota. His son's involved in the biz. You know, it's beautiful. We've sold some of the really early ones on the site. And he's got a coupe now, which kind of looks like that.
Spell it so people know what you're talking about.
Runge.
Okay.
I've always liked those cars, and he does it's like English wheels, and he's making them by hand, which is super cool. And
Porsche Power?
Yeah. Yep. They're on 356 chassis, I believe. But this new one looks like when you go to his website, which we can link to, it looks like that 550 coupe that they raced in the Carrera Panamericana. You know that car? It might even be center steer. It's got that little tiny teardrop roof on it. And I think it had Gullwing doors.
Wow.
It's kind of a tribute to that. So anyway, excited about that.
Podcast includes some photos of all his stuff.
I think we might do video.
Video.
Yeah.
Yeah. Video.
We'll try to do that
on that one. Cool.
So anyway, that'll be fun. More driving across the Midwest. It's not quite driving across passes in the Alps, but it's driving that I like. And, you know, before we started recording here, you said, get out and do stuff, man. And that's what I want to do. Drive more.
Cool. Me too. We got some cars scattered around to go do it now. So
amen.
Let's go do more of it. So I'm excited for that. But there will be more events through the whole summer. I know we have so many things going on. I mean, we could just sit here and talk about the whole calendar, but we love seeing BAT users and buyers and sellers and fans and commenters out there. So I would love to shake your hand if you're coming to our events.
Amen. Thanks to all of our team for putting it together. Thanks to all of our folks for coming out. Thanks to all of you for listening. And thanks to you, Randy, for doing this, as always.
You bet.
Ciao, buddy.